Hi, Tom.
Oh, how's everyone?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Not bad. Beautiful day today. Getting all my fall work in.
I was in council all day, so it looked nice out my window.
Yeah, well, sometimes there's advantages to being semi-retired.
Good evening.
What are we doing?
Hi.
Good evening, Kelly. I assume I need more than 6 for quorum. My math is 7. Am I right?
You're right. And Eileen's just joining us now, so
yes.
we have 7. Oh, and Mohammed's joining as well.
Excellent. Ms. Duncan, hello.
Good evening, everyone.
Vice Chair?
You have quorum.
All right. Do we have regrets for anyone?
I haven't received any regrets.
Okay, fair.
I don't see Councillor King, but I also didn't hear from him either, so.
So which
fairness-
word are we electing tonight, Scott?
Yeah, well, what I was going to actually say, we'll go through a series of questions, and whoever asks the best question will be appointed to the next available vacancy on council.
Oh, that's great. Great process.
You don't get to pick which ward it is, though. Whatever happens, happens. Today was so much better than a by-election. I mean, a by-election, I mean, how fair is that? People running and getting elected duly by the residents of the ward. I mean, where's the fun in democracy? Okay.
Making jokes is hard on Zoom because you can't hear people laughing.
It's okay. Some of you just don't laugh at my jokes anyway, so it feels better. Like there's less in a public setting. The silence is awkward. Here, I don't feel as bad. So we have Don Herwire and Court Courier here. Is anyone else from staff joining us? Do you know, Kelly? We're done?
Don or Court might be better to answer that question.
Yeah, I think we had some internal confusion. I saw an email that I just replied back that suggested the meeting started at 6. So I believe Lily is joining us and Richard Ash from Building Code Services. So yeah, hopefully they saw the email and the
Okay. Well, we can start regardless, and then whatever aspect of the presentation would be theirs, they can do. So I'll call.
Sorry, Chair, I just received an email from Richard and I'm just sending him the Zoom details now.
Okay, sounds good. So, welcome to Agenda 7 of the Plan Advisory Committee. I'd like to call the meeting to order for Wednesday, November 10th. So, we'll just do a quick roll call. I can run through that. Shannon Bassett's
Here.
here. Aileen Duncan here. Well, yeah, there she is. Oh, sorry. Farah Issa. I saw Farah. I think they got bumped out and they're there.
Thank you. Sorry, it took me out of panelist mode. I'm here.
Okay. Cal Kirkpatrick is not here. Carolyn McKenzie is here.
Here.
Tom Moss is here. David Renfro is here. And Claude Schellenberg is here. Brad Smith is not here. One of these days we'll have a meeting in person and Brad Smith will be able to attend. But as long as he lives in Birds Rapids, we'll assume that he won't be able to attend a virtual meeting. Hey, Cal Kirkpatrick's here. And Corleia Tarasic is here. Excellent. Oh, and Mohammed Al-Rafai. Sorry, I started at the bottom and I didn't look up, and then I'm here as well. And Councillor King is not, but Councillor Gower's here. So Stittsville, Rita Rockcliffe, it's about the same thing. Confirmation of minutes for our meeting of February 3rd, 2021. Are those meeting minutes carried? Mohammed, are you talking to me or are you talking to someone else?
I'm on.
If you're trying to talk to me, Mohammed, I can see your face moving, but I can't hear you. No, nothing.
How about now?
There you go. I hear you now.
Okay. Just regarding the minutes, I did have a comment about the minutes, just more so the extreme brevity. It felt like it didn't really capture, that was a pretty in-depth conversation we had at the presentation for the official official plan as we heard it review, and it felt like the actual record of that meeting was extremely abbreviated and did not record most of what I thought was a really great discussion, and with some pointers and some requests for follow-up and clarification. So I'm not sure where to go from here. It's just, I would like to note that to me, those minutes do not capture the full extent of the conversation.
Well, I can say that from this point forward, it won't be as difficult. So tonight we're recording this meeting and it's going to be posted on YouTube. Mm-hmm. So in the new year, we're going to start live streaming advisory committee meetings. But for this meeting, we're going to upload it to YouTube after the fact. So it will be there, viewable for anyone afterwards. So just a reminder for those on camera that it will be displayed on YouTube at a later date, and it just lives in perpetuity.
Yeah.
So
I guess it was a comment about action, more action, like when we're asking for follow-up. And I think it's not the first time that we've asked for follow-up on some of our comments, and it's more that somehow there's a record of conversations and requests for follow-up, that and the meeting minutes somehow record that need to take action, and there were no action items in those minutes.
Okay, I'll note that. I don't think Kelly, I don't think it was you last time. I think it was Eric. So we can follow up. I'm pretty sure it was Eric that was the community coordinator at the last.
No, the last one was me.
Okay. Well, that
And
was the special meeting, but the February 3rd one though.
yeah, no, it was me as well.
Okay.
Yeah, and technically, as per the procedure bylaw, minutes are supposed to be action minutes. I can go back and look if there's concern. I think it was the OP was the special meeting that Mohammed
it
was
was,
referring
That's
to,
right.
which is July. So I can take that away, and I know that a lot of or that the recording of that meeting was circulated to a lot of people afterwards. I can take that away and see if we can actually upload that one as well.
Okay.
that's great.
Okay, so on the minutes for February 3rd, 2021, can we carry those? Carried, thank you. And then the special meeting minutes of July 15th, 2021, just obviously with the comments that Mohammed noted. Carried? Thank you. So we have one item on the agenda today, and it is an item that assumes that nothing will happen between today and the end of the year. It is a year in review before the year is over. So it's the Planning Infrastructure Economic Development 2021 year in review. And with us, we have Don Herwire, Court Curry, Richard Ash. Who else did you tell me is going to be here? Oh, Lily Zhu, but she'll be here a little bit later. So who's starting? Is Don starting?
Sure, Chair, I'll start, and hopefully Lily can join us and do her section at the end. If not, I'll go through her slides. So Kelly, can you move to the EDLRP section? I'm thinking it's around slide 8 or 9. Oh. Keep going. There we go. All right. So it's good to be with everyone this evening. Again, my name is Don Herwire. I'm the Director of Economic Development and Long Range Planning at the city. Just thought I'd spend a couple moments covering the year that almost was in terms of 2021. We're I guess 10 months and a bit through. So obviously the biggest achievement, and it's probably dominated PAC agendas and planning committee and council over the last few years, is the new official plan. And that was adopted by council a couple of weeks back on October 27th. So staff are currently busy working through all the motions and changes that were made at joint committee and council, packaging those amendments up, and there'll be a bylaw that goes to council at the end of November, after which we will be sending it off to the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing for their review and hopefully approval. So that's anticipated probably in the spring of next year in terms of the time they have to review. They can review, they can approve as is, they can make modifications, or they can send it back to us with direction to start over. So I think it's probably going to be approval or approval with modifications, but we shall see. So in terms of other projects that were completed or about to be completed in 2021, so building on the official plan work, we presented new zoning bylaw work plan and budgets, preliminary version in January, and then just today, council approved the work plan and budget that will really build on the official plan and implement a lot of those changes on the ground, neighborhood by neighborhood. Another project that was completed was the Westboro infill zoning project that was completed in February of this year. Would give you a fairly good sense of some of the zoning changes that will likely flow from the official plan in certain neighborhoods. So a very successful project. We resolved some last appeals on our infill zoning changes in May of this year. On the rural front, we had a new zoning change permit approved that allowed for more diversified uses in our agricultural areas to support agriculture, certainly continue to protect our agricultural lands, but create some other opportunities, for reasonable uses that would support those agricultural operations. We, building on our work with bylaw, there was some zoning changes that implemented the short-term rental bylaw in the spring of 2021. That is currently under appeal, so we're waiting to sort that out. And then there were some amendments that are really setting the stage for the new zoning bylaw. Call them quick hit amendments, some housekeeping, getting some things in order. And our group drafted 129 zoning bylaw amendments and dealt with 6 legal non-conforming reviews. So that's uses that exist and predate the zoning bylaw that have those rights to continue. Next slide, please. Another project, it's and this is near and dear to Carolyn's heart, is the Bank Street Height Character Review. It's scheduled to come to Planning Committee on November 25th. So we'll assume that will be in the completed column soon. Other secondary plans that were completed were the Corso Italia Station District Secondary Plan, formerly referred to as the Gladstone Secondary Plan. We had a secondary plan for the East Urban Community that was approved in earlier this year. And I did mention the Westboro study in Q1. Apologies if you can hear my cat meowing. Ongoing projects, we have both building better, smarter suburbs and building better infill. And those are multiple projects that cross multiple service areas that are ongoing and will continue in the coming years as well. Next slide. Some projects that are in progress that are not complete. Pinecrest Queensview Station, Riverside South, Lincoln Fields Secondary Plan, the Orleans LRT Corridor Station Plan. There 2 of those will finish in 2022, and the others will be 2023. And we're also starting a collaboration with the federal government on the Confederation Heights Master Plan, and that's just getting underway with targeted completion for 2024. Next slide. Some other projects that are underway is the inclusionary zoning piece that will build off the policies that were established in the framework in the official plan. And those are tied to affordable housing in transit station areas as per the Planning Act. We have an interim control bylaw along the Woodruff corridor to protect for land for that extension of stage 2, and that will be wrapping up in Q2 of next year. Currently, we're dealing with some changes to our commercial outdoor patios, building on some of our experience and we think successes during the pandemic in terms of loosening up some of those permissions. So that will be coming to committee, I believe, in December. And then there's again some various zoning pieces that are ongoing or about to hit committee. Yeah, next slide, please. I'll turn it over to Mr. Curry, and he'll walk you through the public realm and urban design piece.
Great, thanks, Don. Nice to see a lot of familiar faces on the call tonight. And for those of you that I haven't met before, my name is Court Curry. I'm the manager of right-of-way heritage and urban design at the city. So as Don said, on behalf of the department, thank you so much for coming out tonight and listening to us. And certainly, we're going to be giving you a lot of information on what is being proposed for the remainder of the year and what we've accomplished, and certainly welcome your questions at the end of the deck. So I'm going to start with the Public Realm and Urban Design Group, which is part of my team made up of landscape architects, planners focused on designing great public spaces and on providing design assistance to our development review program. In terms of ongoing projects this year, we've been working quite closely with Don's group as part of the COVID economic recovery on public realm tactical urbanism projects. So you've likely seen the road closures in the Glebe, the Byward Market, various parts of Centertown, supporting the restaurant and retail sector, looking at what we can do in terms of creating temporary pop-up spaces and additional pedestrian spaces to support our traditional main streets. We've also been reviewing our urban design review panel management. So those of you that have been at the panel before or know of the panel, we've had the panel made up of architects and landscape architects from across Ontario that look at some of our more higher profile development. It's been in existence now for 15 years. And obviously with the enhanced importance on urban design placed by our new official plan, we're looking at what comes to our panel and how we provide ongoing development support through the panel operations. We've got the busiest urban design panel in the country. We just did a scan across Canada. We've got the most number of applications and the most number of sittings of any panel in Canada, which we're very proud of. And we're looking at, as we move forward, how we can refine our criteria to make sure that the most important ones are going there, and in general, how we can infuse that design culture throughout the department. Part of that is through the development of urban design guidelines. Some of you will be familiar with the high-rise design guidelines that were completed 2 years ago. Again, our new official plan places a lot of emphasis on low-rise housing and ground-oriented development. So our next design guideline up is the low-rise design guidelines, which will be before council by next June. The team is busy working on that right now, and there'll be industry and community engagement on that. We're working as well on the development of new maintenance quality standards for specialty spaces and streets. What the heck is that? That sounds like a bunch of government gobbledygook. It is basically our standards that our public works colleagues use to maintain our main streets. So think about Manotick Main Street or West Richmond Road in Westboro, or the Byward Market are high priority areas for economic development, and what are the streets in the areas that are essentially the hearts of our neighborhoods. We're working with that team on an elevated standard for maintenance, graffiti removal, street sweeping, replacement of pavers, maintenance of trees, landscaping, etc., to really denote that there are streets and places in Ottawa that deserve a higher level of maintenance and upkeep. They align to our development objectives, to our economic development objectives, and it of course all comes with a price tag. Working on that strategy to put before council in the spring. The final piece on here is the land management system implementation. So when Lily joins us, she'll likely be speaking further about it. But it's a $25 million IT investment, once in a generation, that is essentially going to allow us to take in all planning applications and circulations electronically, also engage differently with the community. And really, it's the backbone of how our department works in terms of doing business. And we're excited to look at its opportunities to be more transparent and to disseminate information more readily to those interested in that type of information. Next slide. In terms of projects initiated this year, we were lucky to receive a significant amount of federal infrastructure funding for the public realm. Obviously, we've never appreciated it more in our lifetimes in the last 18 months. So the federal government was generous enough to give us funding to undertake a suite of tactical programs. One of which is taking Ottawa into the big city leagues. Those of you that have traveled around North America or the world really have seen how sophisticated cities have sophisticated wayfinding signage in their cores, demonstrating where amenities such as public washrooms, tourism destinations, public transit. So we've undertaken a first tranche of investment here through federal government funding to roll out a suite of these signs and kiosks through the Byward Market. They'll be installed later next year. There's our first one right outside the Rideau Station on William Street, and it's really we're working with a company out of London, England, and Toronto on implementing a really sophisticated way that pairs up with our transit wayfinding. We're also building Ottawa's two first publicly owned standalone public washrooms, obviously with social equity being top of mind more than ever before. The Gotta Go campaign folks and a number of advocacy groups have done a lot of good work and have rallied us to make the business case to build two standalone washrooms in two of our economic tourist centers, being Spark Street and Byward Market, working on the design and implementation of those. And finally, the Byward Market Sussex No Traffic Study. What the heck is that? That is a traffic study, which is the first step at reinvigorating and reimagining the space right in front of the temporary Senate at the intersection of Sussex and Rideau, where there's that flyover. Looking at the National Capital Commission plans, city plans call for a reconfiguration and a pedestrianization of that space. And the traffic study is the first step in terms of building the business case to dismantle the traffic flyover that was built in the 50s and really create a new ceremonial gateway to both Confederation Boulevard, but also the Byward Market Lowertown Precinct, right at the footstep of the major investments that's been made by Cadillac Fairview and others in the market in the last few years. And then finally, we've got our 2021 Urban Design Awards. They're put on every 2 years, very important in terms of calling out and recognizing great urban design that is being undertaken in our community. Also, these successful awards recipients go forward to the REIC Awards. Fortunately, they will be online this year, but they will be released. The award winners will be released at the end of this month. Next slide. So over to heritage planning. A group made up of heritage planners that you'd be familiar with in terms of those of you that have come out to build heritage subcommittee or that do business with the department. I'll go through the year in review there. Next slide, please. So currently continuing the review of our Centertown Heritage Conservation Plan. It's one of our oldest existing plans and our biggest heritage conservation district. So it was put in place in 1997 by the former city of Ottawa. This has been a 2-year project engaging the community and the industry, and will be coming forward to Build Heritage Subcommittee, Planning Committee, and City Council at the beginning of 2022 with a new updated plan. Centertown, obviously, we're seeing a significant amount of development interest, and so this plan is on a priority basis for completion. We've also had significant change of legal terrain in Ontario with respect to heritage with the implementation of Bill 108, the most sweeping changes to the Ontario Heritage Act since 2005. Really a new onus on the city in terms of notification to the public and to landowners of heritage implications on their property, and much more due diligence on the city to identify earlier in the development review process where there's a heritage interest. So we're in the midst of implementing all of those mandatory changes to our program right now, and I'm happy to talk about that further if there's those interested in discussing further. Next slide, Kelly. So finally, in terms of projects initiated this year, following up on the footsteps of Centertown, we're undertaking the Byward Market and Lowertown West Heritage Conservation District update to very important parts of town. Not seeing a lot of development, but certainly these are older plans that are not in conformity with modern heritage legislation, and we want to pair up with our Byward Market public realm plans. So that's just getting underway later this month. Updating our cultural heritage impact statement in terms of reference. So those of you that have clients or know what these are, there are exactly what the title says, are studies that provide impacts of development through the lens of the Ontario Heritage Act, updating our requirements in alignment with the new official plan and new legislation next year. A neat project in Councillor Brockington's board is the heritage study of the Carleton North Veterans Community. So those of you familiar with that community right across the street from the old Westgate Mall has really interesting heritage merits to it in terms of not necessarily the housing, all the small little box post-war houses that were built for our vets, but more the layout of the streets and the setbacks. So not sure it's a district, but we're engaging with the community right now on looking at what form of heritage protection should be put on that very special and unique community in Ottawa. And then finally, similar to development review, we've implemented an opportunity for community associations to undertake, to have a seat at the table rather at our pre-consultation applications for our heritage applications. Worked out quite successfully in terms of bringing folks from the community into the tent earlier in the development review process. We've done an evaluation and we're now making that permanent as of last month for all neighborhoods in Ottawa for all heritage applications that come up to committee. So I whizzed through that fast. Again, as I said earlier, happy to take any questions or provide any clarity at the end. I think it is now over to Mr. Buchanan. Or sorry, Mr. Ash. Wrong Richard.
Yeah, maybe me. Thank you, Court. And good evening, everybody. Thanks for coming out. And for those who don't know me, my name is Richard Ash. I'm the Manager of Permit Approvals for Building Code Services. Next slide, please. So this is the one and only slide that we have. We don't have the numerous slides of the other groups, but I don't want that to make you think that we're sitting on our hands in Building Code Services. Just to maybe a quick little tweet out to everyone, if they hadn't already heard, the mayor had kindly put out a tweet that we hit 10,000 building permits back in October. And we're over 10,500 now and probably going to top out over 11,000. So as a heavily operational group, we're very proud of the fact that we've managed to keep ourselves together through COVID and managed to put out that number of permits. Who knew we would get a building boom through something like this? But on top of that, we are doing a number of reviews of bylaws. The building bylaw started this year and is an ongoing review and is slated to be completed in Q2 of 2022. The pool enclosure bylaw is also under review and will be completed at the same time. And the addressing bylaw is also under review and is slated for completion in Q2. It was hoped these were going to be completed in 2021, but have been pushed a little bit due to other priorities. And then, of course, the annual report pursuant to the Building Code Act is dealt with on an annual basis, and that'll be going to committee and council at a later date. And some other ongoing projects. Court had spoken briefly about the land management system. Building Code Services is the first go live in a long stream of other groups that will be taking that on. It's the backbone architecture GIS system that we currently use now under another system, but it's end of life and we'll be moving forward with this new system. We have a vendor on site and configuration is ongoing. We will have early in 2022, we'll have our release 1. Building Code Services is breaking it down into a couple of go lives. First one being early spring of 2022 with go live 2 in Q4. And this will sort of give us a more of a overall digital process for implementation of permits, issuance. Everything will be done, and there'll be a portal in order to apply and pay online. So it's a very transformative with regards to the processes that we have today, and should be. I think it's been a long time coming, and I think something that'll be well received by industry. Being able to not that we don't want to see you at our counters, but we'll obviously see maybe a little bit less of you as you apply and deal online with the new system. So that's what we have, and that is the end of the presentation.
All right, thanks. So let's go back to the start so that Lily can jump in.
Thank you, Chair. I think I'll
For those of you who don't know, Lily is our acting director of planning services. Leanne Sneddon has retired, and but Lily has not been at this committee before, so that's what her role is now.
Thank you, Chair, for the introduction. And I'll skip the first slide now. Thank you. Next slide, please. Next. Thank you. So Chair and members of committee, and it's my great pleasure to be here to provide you the year-in review for planning services. 2021 is a challenging year. One of the challenges that we're facing with the work volume. After a gentle cooling down in 2020, the land development industry picked up a very high speed in 2021, resulting in over 20% increase in application volume comparing to last year for the same period as shown here. The graphics here are based on the data by the end of September. We have just received information for October. The application volume in October is a historical record for any month in the past 5 years and probably 10 or 20 years as well. There were 81 applications received in a single month of October. It is also noticeable that the number of pre-application consultations that we have held in 2021 hits a new record as well. This is a strong indicator of the application volume in the next 2 years, because typically a pre-application consultation materializes into actual development applications in 1 or 2 years. And also shown here is the general trend of application volumes in different areas. The central, rural, and the west areas are experiencing a noticeable increase, while the south and the east areas appear to be generally consistent comparing to last year. Next slide, please. Planning services, our staff takes great pride in our work. The development application review process is a value-adding process through collaboration. So I'd like to highlight a few examples from this year here. The first image on the left is the addition to the Chateau Laurier Hotel. Our team worked closely with heritage and urban design teams during the review of the site plan control application. This is the application that we have received the greatest number of public comments. I think the number was around 1,300 comments or more than that. The second image is for the development of 2 Robinson Avenue. It is a mixed use with over 1,400 units. Through the review of official plan amendment, zoning bylaw amendment, and the site plan control applications, staff worked closely with the community and the councilor's office to ensure a public park, community spaces, as well as affordable housing are provided, even though Section 37 does not apply to this application. The third image is a Heron Gate redevelopment of over 6,000 units. This area had a very unique demographic context. During the review of the application, 8 public information sessions were held. Key documents were provided in 5 different languages. Even though there wasn't an effective regulatory tool to demand affordable units, planning services staff were able to negotiate for over 1,000 units at different affordable levels. The last image here shows part of the future Ottawa's hospital. The master site plan was recently approved by council. The complexity of the application was due to the regional impacts of the development, the multiple layers of governments and agencies that are involved, and multiple timelines and mandates that this project must satisfy. And the next phases site plan are still ongoing. Next slide, please. So in addition to development applications, we also carried on a number of special projects in 2021. The land management system, which were mentioned several times already, will fundamentally change how planning services does business. We have identified the 2 full-time staff as dedicated resources to work on business requirements to help us prepare for release 2 in 2023. Also, as a result of the new official plan, our staff are now reviewing applications according to both the new plan and the old plan policies. It is a significant amount of policy change and it will be reflected in application reports going forward as per the transition policy in the new OP. Planning services and the legal services also worked together to improve process, address agreement timelines. We are monitoring the agreement timelines now and the impacts of the process change. For the user fees review, we're looking at 2023 and the 2024 implementation. The new land management system will help us track staff's time better to complete the full cost accounting exercise. This will also allow fees to reflect the time actually spent on applications and help matching workforce needs with applications coming in. And also the Brownfield Community Improvement Plan is due for an update. And the new plans are currently being worked on and will join other CIP programs to seek council approval in 2023. In responding to the pandemics, we implemented many improvements to support electronic processes and will be maintaining most of them moving forward. These processes have resulted in reduced work for staff as well as simplified process for applicants. Next slide, please. In terms of projects initiated this year, a series of backlog reduction strategies were worked on, including hiring temporary employees, encouraging the usage of letter of undertaking instead of agreements, as well as supporting conditional permits for site plans. We also worked on improvements to site plan conditions. The goal is to ensure consistency with legal services to support a shortened agreement timeline. And finally, is the pilot project of the community planning permit system for Kanata North Tech Park. I saw Chair Gar just forwarded a link from CBC's coverage. This is for this site, for this project as well. It is an exercise to develop a new type of process with intent to make approval more streamlined, to support the local priorities and to create a predictability for the community. This project will take several years to finish. Next slide, please. Thank you. Looking forward, we are very excited about 2022 with the full implementation of the new OP and a number of exciting development applications to progress forward, including the Salvation Army site plan, the Manor Park area specific plan, and the Tailwind sectoring plan and the community design plan that has been worked on jointly by planning services and the Don Howard's team. We will also provide the training to staff on new policies, tools, and the procedures, and the remaining our effort on continuous process improvement. Thank you. That's all I have.
All right. Thank you, Lily, Don, Court, and Richard. I know that was a lot to take in. I think the presentation had been shared with you earlier today. So if we had a chance to have a look, and if you have any questions for staff, now would be the time. All right, we'll start with Anne Claude.
Thanks everyone for your presentations. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Wonderful. This question I think overlaps several of the presentations tonight. In terms of some of the urban infill projects and the goals for the creation of public space, are you looking at strategies to improve POPs, so privately owned public spaces, as well as maybe vertical integration of city parks and privately owned, say, underground parking? Just wondering about some of the thinking on that.
Good question. Is the question that I think all of us would have something to layer on to. Maybe I'll just start and then I'll kick it over to Dawn and Lily for sure. With respect to POPs, yes, and you know what, I didn't have that in my presentation, but we actually are developing POPs guidelines for Ottawa that we brought forward next year, hopefully before the end of the term of council. we've been relatively unsuccessful in securing POPs in our developments up until about maybe 2 years, and Lily could probably elaborate more on that. But we've started to work together between our two groups, our public realm group and our development review group, in trying to achieve these, particularly in our urban area where we know we've got a deficiency of public space. As part of our official plan, a public realm or parks master plan just came forward that identified throughout Ottawa in a geographic area where we were deficient. Probably many of you participated in that process or aware of what I'm talking about. So we're leveraging that plan with our development review process, with the guidelines that were under development, to examine where we can seek these out. Don and Lily, I don't know whether you want to layer on anything more onto that from your perspectives.
Yeah, no, I think that's the critical points. Court, certainly there are policies in the OP that speak to the importance of POPs, especially in some of our, in the downtown areas, for instance. It's going to be difficult to acquire land for larger parks. So I think they form a key part of our strategy to, make our intensifying areas more livable. It was a big theme we heard through the OP, and how that contributes to the creation of 15-minute neighborhoods and so on. So agree, highly important, and certainly there have been some successes. I think there is room for improvement, and I'll leave it to Lily if she has anything to add.
Thank you, Don Court. Something to add is in addition to, there are a few examples that we're able to achieve, certain level of the POP with works and collaboration from courts and the Dunhorse shop. And also another player is our parks and the recreation planning team in terms of their overall concept, the vision of green space, recreational space provided for either a community area or the citywide as well.
All right, thank you. Anne Claude, any other questions? Or
I do, but I'll leave it to others for now.
wait, just before I get to the next question, I have an inkling that most of the stuff we're going to talk about tonight are going to be planning related. Does anyone, just by a show of actual hand, have a question related to building code services or building permits? Oh, you guys do. Okay. Okay. So Richard, I was trying to see if I could let you go, but you're shit out of luck. Okay. So we'll go on to Aileen Duncan.
Thanks so much for your presentations tonight, everyone. I actually had just a couple comments for Mr. Curry. So the first section I wanted to comment on was about the maintenance standards. I think it's important that you're revising those. And I wanted to draw your attention to two items. One being urban trees. So you may know urban trees are often injured by maintenance vehicles. So I encourage you to ensure there's a good buffer zone around the physical trunk of the tree, but also keep in mind the root systems, which expand at least as far as the drip line of the canopy. So keep that in mind. The second section, you mentioned graffiti removal. My personal opinion, sophisticated cities have a good graffiti management strategy that involves appreciating the creativity that goes into some of the street art. So I encourage you to bring a more discerning eye into which pieces are left for removal or are encouraged to be removed and which are left. So perhaps a little bit more leniency as to what kind of public art is left in the public space. In terms of the cultural heritage impact statement, more from a reconciliation-based view, culture and land are inextricable. They're very related, and so I encourage you to ensure there's some connectivity between preserving ecosystems and important land bases is as part of that strategy. Thanks so much.
Can I butt in with one correction on root spread and tree canopy? Not necessarily related.
All right. Was there any question there, Aileen, or just it was just a comment? Okay, perfect. well, not perfect, but you know what I mean. Move on to Shannon Bassett.
Hi, thank you for all of your presentations. I had a question for Court. It's a two-part question. And you had mentioned that you had, I guess the city had received sizable funding for infrastructure. And I was just wondering, who was that from? Was that from Infrastructure Canada? Actually, maybe I'll pause on that question and get the answer before moving forward. If you could just kind of elaborate on who the funding was for infrastructure.
Absolutely. I'm going to forget the name of the exact funding stream, but I think it's called the COVID Economic Recovery Resiliency Stream. It was federal government funding channeled through the province for tactical public realm projects. So funding the wayfinding signs, funding the 2 washrooms. FedDev Ontario has also released back in the late summer a similar stream for public realm improvements. The city put forward about $15 million of projects throughout Ottawa to improve public realm, streetscapes in villages, towns, suburban town centers, and urban cores. And we have not heard back yet on that one, although we're in ongoing dialogue. So we're hopeful.
Was it the Investing in Canada Infrastructure Program, ISIP? The COVID
That was,
piece to that?
thanks, Chair. That was actually the first one. You're right. That was the name. It was ISIP was the first one, and the second one, I may have them reversed. Maybe the Canadian Resiliency Fund. I'm happy to provide some clarity afterwards to the committee members. I apologize for jumbling the names.
Thank you. I guess that leads to my question in terms of kind of improvements in the urban realm. You talked about signage, I think street furniture and wayfinding. And I was hoping to hear that there was also kind of green infrastructure within that. And so I think, again, I know that there's been a significant amount of funding released from Infrastructure Canada, specifically for green infrastructure. And it's been a question I've been asking at several of these meetings, even with respect to like the official plan. I know that it's a goal to integrate more performative kind of ecological or green infrastructure into the city, but to kind of understand, is that being done, or in fact, what are the more of the opportunities to do it? On view of, again, I just use the example in my own neighborhood, but Central Park in the Glebe, it experiences seasonal flooding. It was built in a floodplain or a wetland, but it just seems like there continues to be kind of a heavy-handed gray infrastructure approach, whereas I think that we can look to best case practices in even, Scandinavian winter cities who are engaging, green infrastructure as part of their public realm, but that are also places, so they're performative for stormwater management, it's in ecological services, but also offering, places for social gatherings, right? Or, and so maybe the last part of that comment is, I know there's been specific pilot projects, I think, on Sunnyside Ave in Ottawa South, but maybe we could continue to kind of develop from these pilot projects and incentivize, implementation, or again, loosen, like as we've done with the pop-ups, like in public spaces, loosen up the zoning to allow people to further, or developers to implement that. Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you, Shannon. Carolyn McKenzie.
Great, thanks, Chair. Thank you for all the presentations. I guess I don't know when the next PAC committee meeting is going to be. Maybe I know last year. February 2nd. Okay, so we'll be talking. So I won't ask questions about the work plan so much for next year because
work plan will be on that agenda.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, so I'll try and narrow my questions a little bit. But I did have a few questions about some of the work streams, and I think probably these could fall under your purview, Dawn. So I'm wondering, you mentioned the quick hits report, and I think I saw that it was completed in June of this year. Have I got that right?
Yeah, that's correct. It dealt largely with the sort of administrative parts of the bylaw, collapse some subzones together, definitions, that kind of thing. It's kind of I'd characterize it as some housekeeping, but I could send you a link to that if you're interested.
Okay, yeah, so my next question was, I was wondering when it was going to be made public and what the plan was for public engagement. Now, if it's mostly technical and nothing substantive, nothing that anyone would need to pay attention to or be, to think about. But it was mentioned. I thought the description indicated something a little bit more substantive earlier. But if that's not the case, then that's fine.
Yeah, no, I think it was exactly that, very technical nature. I think perhaps we're going to bring forward building on the OP language, a big moves report on the zoning in 2022, early 2022. So I think that's probably more of what you're would be interested in terms of those sort of key directions building on the OP, and that's I believe that's Q2 2022. So that could be a topic for our next meeting as well.
Okay. So the big moves report. Now, I think that originally had a timeline or a scheduled date of arrival in Q3 2021, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm wondering what the delay is. What's the source of the delay, and should we be concerned about that, I guess?
Yeah, no, that's really a function of the delay in the official plan. The official plan was pushed back, so it was felt as it wasn't reasonable to bring forward the zoning big moves until the OP was in place. So it's strictly a function of the extra time that was added to the official plan process to allow for that extra engagement, just the digesting the huge volume of information. So it was strictly a function of pushing the OP back, that it thereby pushed the zoning report back.
Okay. Was it at the end of the day, was the OP delayed by more than a month, or maybe I'm not recalling it correctly? It's just seeming like this is about a quarter delay, and whereas the OP was. I realize it was delayed, but
Scott, I think Scott could correct me. I think it was more something in the line of a 6-week delay. I'd have to pull it. It seems like a long time ago now, but and then we do need also ministry approval.
Yes,
of the plan to
yeah. Okay. And then there were two other pieces that were mentioned, but I don't see them in in what the presentations that were discussed tonight. And those were there were themed discussion or approach papers, and those I think were meant to have landed in Q2 2021, as per I think what council approved back in January, and also the comparative review. Although I think it may have been referred to as a best practice report in your presentation tonight. So just a little bit of different nomenclature there. And that was meant to be Q3 2021, respectively. So both of those were meant to land on or before the official plan. And I'm just wondering what's happening with those, and what the plan is for public engagement on those.
Yes, so we did require retain a consultant that did that best practice review for us. We're just digesting that report now, so I think that will be released at some point. I'll check with Mr. Wise on timing. It will I think it will be part of and inform the big moves report, but I can get back to you on a more specific time frame for that.
Right. Okay. And I guess one other piece that I wanted to mention, and at the risk of again sort of sounding off on the same issue with the modeling report, the implementation modeling report that I and others had been asking for, and it was released in July. There's no mention of it here, and I'm wondering, other than releasing it and putting it up on the website. I just wanted, I guess, to note that I don't believe there was anything other than the post to the Engagement Ottawa website. I don't believe there was any other public consultation or discussion of that in terms of the public, any public engagement, that is. And I think I think that, to me anyway, that should have seen a bit more light of day and had a bit more engagement?
Thanks for the question. Yes, Jared, it was Engage Ottawa. We did have, I would say, some feedback on it. We are bringing forward a separate report on the monitoring piece, given how big a theme and concern it was in the official plan. So early in 2022, there will be a full report on monitoring, enhanced monitoring, additional resources for all the, I would say monitoring was one of the top 10 themes we probably heard in the OP is, we need to do a more fulsome job and in terms of our monitoring approach. And
right. Is there just going forward with as we think about the comprehensive zoning bylaw review exercise, is there an intent to continue to use and modeling approach to understand the implications of different zoning options in terms of our ability to reach our intensification goals? Will that be part and parcel,
yes, very much so.
and I guess transparent as well?
Yeah, no, I think that's going to be a critical piece in terms of the engagement that's going to happen on a neighborhood by neighborhood basis. We do need to achieve certain density targets. There's different ways to do it. We saw like a version of it.
Is that me or Don?
Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Am I
That was
freezing up?
Yeah, you froze there for a bit there.
Oh, maybe I'm getting an unstable internet connection. So I'll turn off my video for a sec. Yeah, no apologies. That sort of that modeling approach is going to be a big part of our consultation and community engagement on the new zoning bylaw in terms of those choices and where those that higher amount of intensification is going to happen. So very much so.
Okay. I think that's, I'll leave it to others. I don't want to take just one request. Scott, you mentioned, Chair, you mentioned that we did get this slide deck this afternoon, but it's just a few hours ago. I didn't have time to look at it before the meeting. I don't know if there's any reason why it can't be sent out even just a few days in advance so that we can have a look at it and be a little better informed. I mean, it's great to hear the presentations, but it would, for me anyway, it would be really helpful to get that even 48 hours in advance.
Yeah, I spoke to Kelly about that last week about trying to get stuff out as quickly as it was available. I'm not certain, to be honest, if the presentation was available before today, because I got it today for the first time too. So
yeah,
ideally, we've talked about this before. We want staff getting stuff ready as early as possible so it can be shared sooner than the day of. So just kind of taking that away again.
Great. Okay, thanks. I'll let others get in there. Thanks.
Of course. Thanks, Carolyn. And you don't have to call me Chair. Tom Moss.
Likewise, I like to thank staff for their presentation. And I find myself at a disadvantage to some extent because I can't comment on all the projects that have been done and are underway because I just don't have the background, nor have I seen any of those projects delineated in such a way that I can comment on them. So I would note, though, that I'm sure that the efforts to put online the land management system must have been challenging at best, but I'm sure that the folks that are going to be using it going forward are going to benefit from it. My question is more for Dan. I didn't hear, and this is going into 2022, I didn't hear from him, and I'm hoping that there is a consolidated economic plan to incentivize the small businesses post-COVID. I'm wondering if the city has made any comments or has declared any package of this nature. Is there a willingness to go forward with some sort of an incentive package? I note that in other communities and other areas in the provinces, that such a package has been delineated and discussed, but I haven't seen anything, nor have I heard for the Ottawa area. So would someone comment on that?
Sorry, I don't know if it was your internet or mine, but I only heard part of what you said there. So I don't
It's
know if
asking about
someone could
any incentives for small businesses coming out of COVID. I will just say we did just approve a small business property tax subclass at council recently, which will see a reduction in taxes for small businesses. I can share that with you, Tom, if you'd like to have a look at it.
Yeah. Is there anything else that coming down the road?
That's what I'm not sure. It actually might be a better question for finance, but I'm not sure from economic development perspective, Don, if there is anything on the small businesses in terms of COVID relief for future years.
Yeah, so certainly the small business tax relief is fresh off council, and that's been very well received. We are providing a lot of other supports in terms of our work and the Board of Trade in terms of helping businesses adjust. The Digital Main Street program. There's a variety of initiatives. We do work closely with the business improvement areas, the business associations, Board of Trade. But in terms of a financial impact, I would say the tax relief that just was approved by council would be the top item.
Thanks.
Thank you, Tom. I'll find that and I'll send. I can just share it with all the members of the committee just so that you all have exactly what I'm sending, Tom, just for reference. David Renfro.
Thank you, Chair. I appreciate it. I know you don't want to be called Chair, but Richard, first off, I want to apologize. I actually don't have a question for you. I just have some thank yous and some comments I wanted to pass on from the Greater Ottawa Home Builders. So, I think you all know I'm the president of the Greater Ottawa Home Builders, and we are in a housing affordability crisis. There's no one federally, provincially, or locally that's denying that we aren't in a housing affordability crisis. And there's been dozens of land economic specialists in the last 6 months to 12 months that have said the only way we're going to get out of this housing affordability crisis and to solve the housing demand is to supply more land. We need to build more homes. We need to supply more houses for residents, or the crisis is going to get worse. So locally, what we need to do is to work with all the politicians. We need to work with all the community groups, and of course, we need to work with staff. So I just want to say on behalf of GOBA, I think the record amount of applications that Richard and Court and Lily were just talking about that's a direct link to housing demand. And I just want to say on behalf of GOBA, I wanted to thank Richard for everything you've done in building code services to process this record amount of applications. Lily, congratulations. You and I have worked together for many years now, and and I look forward to working with you on future applications, Manor Park and many others. And thank you to you and your team for the record amount of applications that you have all processed. And Court, same thing. You and I have talked on many occasions, and thanks for everything you're doing with the right of way and with the permits, the heritage permits and the urban design review panel. So please, on behalf of GOBA, please thank your team. We need your help to continue to grow the city and to provide housing supply. And lastly, I do have a question, so I apologize for taking everyone's time tonight. But lastly, Don, I know I've said to you, and Jason and others have said to you, I guess first off is congratulations to you and your team, and thank you. I know GOBA didn't always agree on everything that in the official plan, but at the end of the day, what an amazing milestone for you and your team and for the city of Ottawa. And I know everyone was giving you kudos at council and through all the delegations, but I think as a resident and a taxpayer, thank you for the direction you're taking us in the city, and we look forward to seeing this implemented in the years to come. So thank you for letting me say all that. I have one quick question, and I have one suggestion. My question is for you, Don. And just around the whole land supply lens that we're having issues with, we know the official plan's going to the bylaw will be passed at council. It's going to go to the province. hopefully 120 days, and then we'll get through the appeal process at the provincial level. When can expansion lands begin the terms of reference process? We desperately need more land supply, and we know a secondary plan process needs a terms of reference to move forward. When can we expect that? Are you waiting until the province has adopted the OP, or can this start in the next 120 days?
Thanks for the question, David, and thanks for those kind remarks that really go across the corporation to many teams and groups, including courts and the leads and many others. In terms of secondary planning for expansion areas, I think some are probably waiting until the minister weighs in. Others I know are starting to work on terms of reference. I would say the work plan report that I mentioned that will come forward will be critical in terms of timing and when they can proceed. A lot of that work, there's lead up work and studies, that will have to happen before the community design plan, secondary plan process starts. So there's no, I know for one area already, we're already into it in terms of the, reviewing and commenting and trying to come up with the terms of reference for the various studies that have to happen. So that's, I guess it's really a case by case basis. And then we did receive a couple directions in terms of priorities from council through the official plan. So those, of course, will have a higher priority for the reasons that council directed. But that work plan report will be, I think, critical in terms of there's a lot of work that can happen on the private side in advance of that secondary planning process as well. So I would reach out and we can have.
Perfect. Thank you, Don. I thought that's probably was going to be your response, which then I want to lead into my suggestion. And Councillor Moffat, if I can ask you, I don't know what the right protocol is because we're an advisory board, so we're supposed to be advising, I believe, council on suggestions or anything along planning matters. And one element that really caught my ear through the council deliberations was that the 2022 work plan was most likely going to be deferred until after the next municipal election, which is, as we know, is 11 months from now. So just a suggestion, is there any way that some of the more critical work plan items, specifically around affordable housing or housing affordability, which I think majority of the residents of the city of Ottawa are behind to fix, is there any way that there could be a portion of the 2022 work plan that could go ahead in early 2022 and not be kicked past the next municipal election? Again, it's just a suggestion. I'm not here to pretend I'm a politician. I'm just here to just hopefully use some common sense that we really need housing. We need housing. If we don't have housing, prices will continue to increase. And that gap between a first-time home buyer and people that need subsidized housing is only going to get bigger. So we're all in this together. We have to find a way to provide supply to help the affordability crisis we're all in.
Yeah, I can take that conversation away and talk to Don and Steve Willis, and obviously I've got the other chair of planning here today, Glenn Gower as well, and we can have that discussion. I mean, it's not like our planning group is planning on doing nothing in 2022. It's not necessarily the election that's the issue. It's there's a lot on that work plan from what we just finished up with the official plan, and obviously we've been very sort of adamant about official plan implementation and that process starting as soon as possible. So there's a lot on their plate right now, and I don't think it's a matter of pushing things off because of the election. It's just that there's other things on going on. So I'm happy to talk to Don and Steve and see more about exactly what the plan is and go forward from there. But like I said, we will be talking about work plan at the next advisory committee.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mohammed.
Thank you, Scott. And thank you to everyone at the city who, for your presentations. Very, really exciting, and I'm very proud to see all the excellent work and all the initiatives that have been kind of coming underway. Thank you for meeting with us at such a late hour as well, in addition to all your busy schedules. With that said, I will echo what Carolyn mentioned earlier about the kind of importance actually of receiving presentations ahead of time. And I would say, a week is good. 2 weeks is better. A lot of us here are, this is a societal cross section. There's people who are in the business. I'm here representing the OAA. I know Carolyn's involved with community groups, who has a background as well. And so we can kind of jump into these topics really quickly. There are others potentially on the board as well, on this committee, who might take these presentations and discuss them with others and really kind of solicit feedback and input. And that would include myself. I would like to have the opportunity to take this and discuss it with my colleagues as well and get their feedback, so that I'm not just talking about my own personal opinions, that I'm kind of here to represent a larger community. So I would say for sure be great to, we all need deadlines, and just give ourselves a deadline of 2 weeks before any PAC meeting, that the presentation should be prepared and distributed to get the most out of our time and your time as well. But thank you very much for that. I will start with just a question to Richard. Well, it's actually, let's say I'll put it out there in general. We're in the midst of the Glasgow Climate Summit. Well, I haven't heard anything in any of the presentations that talks to the climate crisis. So really, and that's not to say that there's nothing happening, but we all know that planning, cities, the planning of cities, housing, code-related issues, infrastructure, that has, I think, well, I know my industry is the third largest polluter as far as carbon goes. So it's the two go hand in hand, how we plan our cities and how we plan for how we regulate our buildings and how we regulate growth plays a really major role in how we're going to be able to tackle this climate crisis. And I find it a bit strange that with this said, they really haven't heard about how a lot of the city initiatives are directly addressing climate. Again, there are peripheral kind of relationships, and I'm sure there are projects that you haven't mentioned, which are aiming to tackle those. But I would say that myself, I would be very interested to really hear about how the city is tackling this crisis firsthand. With respects to code, for example, Richard, I know that some municipalities, I know Vancouver has recently said that starting in 2022, there's going to be a moratorium on fossil fuel fired appliances for all new builds and renovations. So that's, again, they're leveraging their clean energy grid. They're making sure that whatever growth happens in the future is going to make use of a carbon-free or a carbon, a highly carbon positive kind of power grid. I know Toronto are also considering similar, in some areas are considering some. What's Ottawa doing with respects to building codes and kind of trying to, in between the NBC and at the municipal level, how are we really pushing this, what really seems like a tremendous, a tremendous opportunity for growth. We're hearing about all these, massive increases in applications. How are we leveraging that to make sure that actually we're ending up in the right place, and we're not just piling up on these developments and these homes and houses and high rises that are just piling up more carbon and making things worse for us?
Well, thanks, Mohammed, for the question, and I can speak, a little bit about that, but I think I'll defer a lot of it to Don. Is it your group that's sort of, yeah? So we're, as you know, I guess we don't advocate, in a sense. That's not our role. It's not our mandate. I mean, we take our direction from the building code, and the building code is up for comment right now. It's been circulated for the next round of comments, and we have a team working on that right now. So I can't speak to exactly what is potentially coming through from a provincial level. But if the past is any prediction, that's been, I guess, the number one item that has dominated any sort of code updates over the last few years is continual energy efficiency. And I think you're speaking a little, more broadly than that. But I will turn it over to Dawn, because there is a group that we are feeding into, but the push is coming from Dawn's group.
Thank you.
Thanks, Richard. I'm just going to turn my camera off because I think my connection is still a little unstable. So hopefully this works better than the last response. Yeah, and that's for Mohammed. We actually, last night had a presentation at our Environmental Stewardship Advisory Committee, and climate change and energy evolution was a big topic of discussion. So I suppose it does across every committee now, and but certainly it's there's a lot going on. Building on Richard's comments, yeah, there's a lot of things underway. We're developing high performance development standards for new construction to ensure that our new builds are energy efficient and reducing emissions such that we will achieve our targets in time. We have a Building Better Homes loan program that's dealing with retrofits of existing homes, making them more energy efficient. It's recently been released. We're also looking at a commercial building program, pursuing funding opportunities for those and other initiatives. I could go on. Green bus electric bus acquisitions, and so on. And I think that would be a couple more hours of discussion, but happy to point you in terms of what's going on there. There's been some reports, and yeah.
Well, that'd be great. I mean, I think it's really more when I heard about what the plans for Vancouver, and obviously it's not going to be without a backlash. That just to say that there are no more fossil fueled appliances, period, and that's it. And it's just kind of foot down crisis, and let's kind of find ways to deal with it. And again, whether or not that's something that Ottawa's considering, but it would be great to kind of make sure that this remains on agendas and topics and discussions, because it's, I think, something that everyone is really, we're all looking to our leaders to kind of see how that translates. And it's, again, like you said, it's something that crosses every path. It's not just kind of zoning or kind of bylaw or public space and planning. I mean, even with respect to David's comments about affordability, can we afford to expand, or should we be looking at actually consuming less land and densifying in areas? But again, the question of affordability remains up there and remains something that is very important and needs to be addressed. But does it have to be at the cost of expansion and more cars and more carbon in the air to get to where you need to? Because affordability can be translated into going further and further out of the city to be able to afford something. So I think it's an important topic, and I think it would be great if we kind of maybe even at every planning session should be able to kind of hear some of the initiatives that are being taken, and things that the city are, moves that the city are making in order to address this climate crisis. So I'm gonna kind of move on to something else. Again, back to Richard, as far as codes are concerned. So, there's with this increase in applications, I'm assuming that your teams are stretched. You're really kind of working, in addition to the challenges by faced on you with remote work and COVID and whatnot. You have all these, a giant increase in applications. How is the follow-up and the post-application process in terms of site reviews or kind of follow-up on, if there's any special amendments or special kind of arrangements that are being made to obtain permits or to obtain zoning amendments? How is your department able to cope with that influx as well?
So thanks. Oh, go ahead, Lily.
I wasn't sure it's a question for development applications or building permits, but Richard, go ahead, please.
Okay. Yeah, no, for sure. This, COVID has given us all a challenge. No doubt, you hit it on the head with your comments, and I think we're all taking in lessons learned from this, and we have an ongoing structural review going on presently. And there'll be hybrid models, there'll be different things that we're looking at, but we're still basically in it, and we're just trying to. We are a little bit more reactionary right now. We're trying to meet the demand the best way we can, so I don't really have anything new to add exactly that there's anything ongoing, but other than we're going to take lessons learned out of this and see where it takes us.
Thank you. I have a question for Court, and when it just with relation to the design guidelines, you mentioned that there's low-rise design guidelines that are being developed, as well as design guidelines for publicly operated private spaces. How are these guidelines developed? Maybe you can kind of shed some light on in terms of the process. Is this, is there consultation with community groups? Is there consultation with professional associations? And how do you kind of make sure that you're getting kind of a fairly balanced approach between kind of procedures and operations that the city needs to kind of maintain, but also be able to remain open and transparent to kind of a wider input from the community and from professionals in the community?
Thanks for the question. It's a really good one. Initially we had seen them as technical documents. I'm talking about 10 years ago. They were brought forward as technical documents that were generated by the department, but we've seen the interest from the community, from our stakeholders, to have more input and more influence on these guidelines. So what we do is we have a project manager on my team. Typically it's an architect or a landscape architect who does an internal draft development of the guidelines in consultation with Lily and her staff, development review, and Dawn, and obviously policy. And then we typically then fan out to both residents and to specific stakeholders. OAA is one certainly that we'd want to liaise with. High-rise design guidelines we did 2 years ago. We did a good degree of stakeholder engagement then, you probably recall. Low-rise we're about to go out in January on, Mohammed, so stay tuned. We'll be knocking on various folks' doors, and we're, as well as POPs, as I mentioned earlier. Next up is mid-rise design guidelines. We anticipate starting those at the end of 2022 as well. We've got about 15 design guidelines. Dawn's given us lots of work to do. There's a lot of tune-up to be done. Some of them are 5-10 years old. So we will be working on those over the next 2-3 years. But low-rise, POPs, and mid-rise are the highest priority right now.
So this kind of will span from, it will kind of, you'll be able to reach out to community groups and be able to kind of solicit feedback and input into kind of developing those guidelines. It's not going to remain at the professional or city level.
Absolutely. As I said, 10 years ago, it was more of a professional technical document, but we're not in that game anymore. And certainly there's a lot of interest from the community we saw during the official plan about low-rise typology and context and neighborhood identity. And we'll be absolutely doing a robust public engagement process for the upcoming guidelines.
It's great to hear also that the city is kind of really considering. I think we've all seen the success of the kind of streetscapes and the patios and the street closures. I think everyone would agree that it's a very positive, whether you're a business owner or a resident. This is kind of all, I would imagine, kind of, well, unless you're a business owner that depends on car traffic, everyone else would really kind of appreciate the type of closures and the type of activities that you've been doing. So it's great to hear that your group is really looking at the successes, or let's say everyone should be looking at what COVID has brought in terms of positives, in terms of kind of shaking up the way we work and the way we imagine, and trying to kind of stick to some of those things moving forward. So that's kind of really positive to hear that that is an official project that you're kind of undertaking. That's wonderful. I am kind of just going through some of my notes here. Yeah, I think that's it actually. My last comment, and I'm not sure, I think it might fall in your department as well, Court, was the kind of overall, I think we've also, with COVID, we've seen a tremendous kind of increase in the public's kind of desire to be outside, to be outdoors, to be in nature. And again, back to, the importance of POPs and in the city, but also extending beyond that and trying to kind of really expand the kind of overall health and well-being of communities through providing kind of means, I guess, sustainable means to allow everyone to kind of engage with their kind of environment. Moving beyond the urban, an immediate urban setting, and moving maybe into areas that are maybe more naturalized or more kind of less urban. Is that something, an area that falls under your department as well, looking at parks in general, kind of city parks in general that fall outside an urban zone?
Good question. It certainly crosses all three of us or four of us really on the call tonight. I think council has been very clear on its priorities. We didn't really get into the city strategic plan tonight, but housing affordability, climate change adaptation, social equity, trees, all been raised by various folks tonight. Those have all been top of mind and are influential in all the policy development operations we do. I alluded to the Parks and Rec master plan that was brought forth with the OP last month. It certainly set priorities for my group, and I don't want to speak for Lily, but I certainly think for development review as well, for where we are looking to achieve more recreational space, whether it's passive or programmed in all areas of Ottawa. My team sits outside the development review process, and we look to do proactive interventions where there isn't a companion development application. So we've been fairly focused on the urban area where they're on streets or in areas where there hasn't been a development application, but certainly we work with Lily and her staff on identifying any spaces, more and more POPs as we can where available. Lily, I don't know whether you want to layer on anything further on top of that. That'd be helpful for the committee.
Thank you, Kurt, and thanks to Mohammed for the question. So the work on the development applications and any other works involve a lot of people, a lot of other teams beyond for us here. And as I mentioned earlier, one big player is the Parks and Recreation. We call them Parks Planning. So they are actually heavily involved and worked closely with our teams in terms of providing the recreational spaces. But this is related to the development, and they have their own plans in terms of providing city parks that are outside of development applications. Court just mentioned the Parks Recreational Master Plan was recently approved by Council. To my knowledge, the Parkland Dedication Bylaw is also will be updated next year and will be worked on as the requirement under the Planning Act. So that's something you will be interested to learn as well.
Is that something that has increased in funding as well as that benefited from any of the kind of stimulus that has been injected for, the COVID stimulus that you mentioned, Cord? Like, is that the Parks and Recreations?
Yeah.
Has that infrastructure evolved with the increase in demand? I guess that's what I'm trying to say, because we've heard a lot about kind of, say, on the planning side of things and the structured growth, but when it just comes as far as the increased traffic and the kind of increased need for these types of spaces or demand for these kind of spaces, has there been an increase in the budgets to see these environments grow?
That's a good question. The funding is really based on funding availability and the different priorities. The Parks Master Plan would provide some directions on how to prioritize those requirements and the demands.
All right, thank you. That's all for me.
All right, thanks. And just to your first question, I sent another email with the Better Buildings Ottawa strategy, which kind of speaks to what you were talking about at the start in terms of more, environmental policy embedded into some of our planning framework. So that comes through our climate resiliency group, which is under planning, but it actually came through the environment committee. So I didn't actually share that with you all via email just a few minutes ago. Carolyn.
Great, thanks, Scott. Yeah, just picking up a bit on Mohammed's questions or comments about the guidelines, low rise and guidelines. I was going to ask about the mid rise guidelines. So, Court, I'm really happy to hear that they're in the hopper. Or they will be getting in the hopper for 2022. That's fantastic. Yeah, I think it just looking ahead with the official plan, the emphasis on corridor development, intensification. We're really going to need those, and and to Mohammed's points as well, I think about making sure that we have a really the public engagement, and by public I mean residents, I mean industry, I mean stakeholders broadly are able to weigh in and really inform those guidelines. I think will be really important. And I guess just a couple of things. I guess first of all, and we saw it a bit with the official plan as well. There were questions about the sort of, as we heard it, feedback from the city regarding comments received about the official plan, and those comments, I believe, were largely those of residents, community associations, but not so much of industry, or at least I didn't see what I would have thought to have been industry comments reflected in those. So I would really encourage the city, and maybe this is a comment to go back to Charmaine Forgy about public engagement on this. And it's not just a higher mid-rise guideline issue. It's anything where I think the issues that are being wrestled with are going to depend on input from industry, architects, developers, and so on, as well as community and residents. So I'd really encourage the city to take that seriously, and the reason I say that is because I really think it's important for residents to understand what to be able to think about, to understand what the pressure points and the concerns are of industry, so that we can understand the trade-offs that really must be made when we're developing, whether it's zoning or guidelines or what have you. I really think that's important to be able to really truly wrestle with the issues and where we land on those guidelines. So I would just, that's a bit of a plea or request on that basis, both in terms of the process, yes, to Mohammed's point, involve the stakeholders liberally, and then get the feedback and make sure that people are seeing the whole picture, not just their personal viewpoint that they come in with, can be sometimes a narrow viewpoint. So that's one thing. And I guess the other thing is sort of a question and a comment. The guidelines, I think many people look at the city's guidelines and think many of them are terrific, whether it's traditional Main Street guidelines or the high-rise guidelines and so on. My concern is just that they are guidelines, and as I've been told, well, as we all know, they're not the official plan, and as I was told, they are nice to have. They're simply nice to have. And I guess I guess a bit of a question of how do we reconcile, I guess, the city's wanting to pursue high quality urban design, and I think the guidelines speak to that intent. But then at the end of the day, with a specific planning application, that those are very, well, in my own view, fairly easily pushed aside. And we're told that those are nice to have. So I think there's both a communications and expectation setting challenge there for people who are looking at a specific application and looking to those guidelines to inform. Anyway, I don't want to get too much into the weeds on that, but I would say I think it's something that I don't know what the answer is or how we get at that to try and strengthen the standing of those guidelines, and at the same time manage people's expectations of those. So I'll leave it there. And just finally, last question, maybe I was having a seniors moment when Dawn was answering my earlier questions about the Big Moves report and the approach papers and the comparative view. When do we expect to see like public consultation? Is that a Q3 event? That's great. That's all for me tonight. Thank you very much.
Don, were you going to answer the question about the timing for the consultation that Carolyn just asked about?
Yeah, I think I said, and maybe you didn't catch me my earlier response, but I will get back to you on more specifics on the timing and consultation on both those pieces, Carolyn. So happy to do so.
That's great. Thanks very much, Don. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Don. Shannon.
Thanks. I just wanted to expand on Mohammed's comments. I think that within the context of designing our cities for climate change, we can also be looking at mitigating the kind of urban heat island effect with greater integration of like rewilding or biodiversity into the cores. And I've talked about performative green infrastructures. But I was also thinking if we are developing new housing typologies for infill in the city cores, that could also be combined with integration of kind of performative green systems or energy systems. And in fact, maybe that could also be linked or layered with performance-based building code. And then the other thing is, I think even at a kind of regional scale, all the new light rail transit lines, I think that Portland has a best case practice where they've also integrated obviously recreational systems along the light rail right of way, but also animal habitat and corridors. So I think that those are interesting case studies. And maybe just at a kind of larger, in response to Carolyn's comment, and I've mentioned this at a number of meetings in response to the official plan, that Toon Dreesen, the former president of the OAA, the Ontario Association of Architects, has been really working on developing a national architecture policy, as have other colleagues, looking at maybe reform to the current procurement process at the government level anyways, where the lowest bid is taken. And I know, having visited Waterfront Toronto a few weeks ago, which is both a city, federal and provincial agency, that they do look for the kind of top design projects. So again, I'm wondering if there's ways to leverage funding for innovative infrastructure, green infrastructure. Again, Infrastructure Canada is targeted, I think, billions towards this, but also again, thinking about maybe introducing like Quebec, the design competition, architectural design competition, fostering design excellence and best case practices, because we are the capital as well.
A lot of good comments there. I'll just add from the urban design perspective that you've seen in the new official plan a strong emphasis on a design culture and on design competitions. And you're going to see for the first time in my career a few design competitions popping up for some pretty high profile developments on the private side in Ottawa in the next 2 years, which I find really exciting personally. We're pushing that agenda as much as we can on the development side, Lily and myself, and on the public side as well. Both the Byard Market Public Realm Plan, the Spark Street Public Realm Plan, they really speak to the importance of design competitions through public procurement processes as well. So I'm very much in alignment with what you're saying, Shannon. Thanks.
Will there be a call for those, or do you have a timeline on the calls for those competitions, or they're kind of in the works right now?
Certainly on the public projects, as we have funding to implement the projects, absolutely. The Rideau Sussex Node project that I spoke about earlier, where we're doing the traffic study, the intention there is to undertake a design competition for the place that's created on those lands. That's hoping to be 2023. On the private projects, you'll see those design competitions next year. I can't say which projects, obviously, right now due to confidentiality, but Lily and I are in conversations on those right now with proponents.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. I keep hearing that Better Buildings Ottawa strategy, I think, has a lot of answers to some of these questions that you're then the things you're looking for the city to be doing. Obviously, we have to work with our partners in the federal government, provincial government to advocate for some of this stuff, and that's what the strategy does. I wonder if it wouldn't hurt to maybe at the next meeting to actually have someone here from our climate resiliency group to talk about what they're doing with the climate resiliency strategy, with some of the things that they're working on within the planning group. I might make that an invite for them to come out and do a bit of a presentation for the group, just because a lot of the stuff ties back, especially with some of what Mohammed's saying, Shannon, what you're saying, ties back to that our resilience group. And I think it wouldn't hurt for them to come out to this committee and have a chat about that. Anne-Claude?
Thank you. I agree that the Building Better, Smarter Suburbs seems to be doing some interesting initiatives. It is suburban, though. It would be interesting to see that expanded to the urban realm for sure.
So that's a different. So we probably have this bad habit of naming things too similar to one another, but it's the Better Buildings Ottawa strategy. So the Building Better, Smarter Suburbs is something completely different.
Yeah, okay. I just wanted to add to some of the other discussion in terms of the improved maintenance quality standards. I know from my own experience that even parks have had pretty dismal maintenance budgets. And that basically affects the design. So the designs get really watered down to super simple elements and things like habitat creation, naturalized areas become really kind of lip service, and they don't get integrated and they don't function. So I think there could be opportunities for collaboration there, possibly with industry. And tying into that, I know that something Shannon was speaking to, the green infrastructure, some of the bioswales that were done, the urban bioswales, I believe they're over 10 years old. I had looked for some data on them to see if there were best practices developed and what was happening, but I couldn't find. There seems to be no data. So I just wanted to point to the importance of monitoring, because a lot of these are really super initiatives, but unless we're measuring them and seeing that they're effective, we're kind of just shooting in the dark, I think. That speaks to street trees as well. I know historically there's a lot of, my dog is having a fit beside me, I don't know if you hear him. Historically, street trees, suburban street trees, urban street trees, massive issues with conflicts, utility conflicts, the fear of roots undermining foundations, and having these really restrictive policies in place. We need to get more creative because we need to understand that for instance, the urban forest is more important than potentially these small local issues. So we, again, monitoring, look at it. So again, creativity, flexibility, that ties into budgets as well. Budgets are limited. So perhaps there's more opportunities for, again, with POPs, but even going into other urban spaces, maybe even going into suburban spaces, maybe green space budgeting is shared in a different way. I know there's a park budget for development, depending on the size of the park. If it's a district park or community park, the land budget ratio, because it's a per hectare basis, it becomes generous enough that you can implement some interesting things. But then as these spaces become smaller, that budget, it gets you nothing. It gets you turf grass on a plot of land. So there needs to be, I think that really needs to be rethought. That's my blurb.
All right, thank you for that. I'm not seeing any further questions at this time. Hopefully everyone got a chance to anything they wanted to say or ask got out there. So I will then go back to the agenda. So that's the only item. So it's that planning advisory committee. Let's get confused, chair too many committees. The planning advisory committee receive this presentation for information. Is the item received? It is received. Thank you, all very much. There's no notice of motion, inquiries out of business or anything. So again, appreciate you all attending here today. I mean, I think if any of you, I know Carolyn was paying attention to our 3 days of official plan meetings that we held a few weeks ago. And I had mentioned, I think I commented on this advisory committee a few times. I think it's well worth the people to attend and actually pay attention to what the conversations that we have here, because it's really the only place where you have a cross section of members of council. Of course, last time we had Councillor Tierney and Councillor Leeper here. Of course, Councillor Gower's here. Members of the community, the development industry, and then also city staff, all kind of in one spot having a conversation. I think it's quite beneficial to the city and for the greater public. And the fact that we'll put these up, because I know there's a lot of questions. Desire to see the last conversation put up, which Kelly has said that she'll try to do that. So I think it's beneficial to have these conversations and put them out for someone just sent me a message, for better consumption. Mohammed, you wanted to say something?
Scott, thank you. I just want to second what you just said. I think all of us here, we get, a lot of great initiatives and very short kind of synopsis of these efforts that are ongoing, very exciting. But a lot of us, I know myself, I would really appreciate just being in the loop, so if there's something happening, I'll get an email. I might be able to attend, I might not be, but somehow if there's an effort somehow to kind of keep the members of this committee linked to what's being presented to us, that would be fantastic. I think a lot of us would really appreciate to see see the depths that the city is going into, and not really rely on a very high level kind of understanding of what's all the efforts, all the great efforts that everyone's working on.
Yeah, and I think too, what I did tonight with forwarding you some stuff that's relevant to our conversations, I could always do that too. I mean, I don't have to wait for a meeting to do that kind of stuff. Like when we have certain things that come up that I think might be good for future discussion, or just to provide information that can be built into a future discussion when we actually have our meetings. I can do that as well, because we have a lot of stuff going on at the city. I mean, I think we've had like 1,600 master plans approved in the last 3 months. So at least it feels like that. And I think it'd be worthwhile to pass some of that stuff on. And Kelly and I have spoken during this meeting too about ensuring, I know I've been saying it every meeting, but ensuring that we do get stuff out to you guys sooner than day of, or even a couple of days before. Ideally, I'd love the stuff to be ready for you when we're sending you the agenda package. That's what I'd prefer. Okay, that is it. Our next meeting is Wednesday, February 2nd, 2022. So on adjournment. Good stuff. Thank you all. Enjoy the rest of your evening.
Have a great evening. Thank you very much.
Thanks very much.